Today we're going to start our next unit, and the next unit has 3 topics. They're all pretty short, and they're sort of all a little bit different, so there'll be a little bit of a break between each, but that's all right. So our first topic that we'll look at is what we deal with absolute values. So an absolute value, if you look at this question, you see sort of weird things. We get these straight brackets. So they look like brackets. They work sort of like brackets, but they're a little bit different. That's why we indicate them as straight brackets. So to start with, we introduce sort of a concept of temperature. So if you think of it as being minus 16 here in Leduc, and if it was plus 24 in somewhere like Phoenix, and I asked you what's the difference, would we go 24 minus negative 16 to get 40 degrees difference, or would we go 16 minus 24 to get negative 40 degrees difference? Really, what difference does it make? We're talking about what's the difference in temperature? Well, Phoenix is 40 degrees warmer than Leduc. So what we do is we use absolute values on this case. So whether we have 40 or negative 40, we basically say the answer would be 40, positive 40. So absolute value signs basically look like regular brackets, but they're straight, and they follow all the exact same rules. So all of your bed mass rules that you learned over the years, all of those still apply. The only thing that's different is the absolute values will make whatever numbers inside of that positive in your final calculation. So if you have absolute value of negative 5, the answer is positive 5. If you have the absolute value of a positive number, it stays positive. It doesn't make it negative. And the last one, absolute value of 0 is 0, because 0 is not positive or negative, so we just leave it alone. So let's do a few calculations just to get a little bit of practice with this. So in this case, you can see we'd have 4 minus absolute value of negative 6 would be positive 6. The negative in front still stays the same. So our answer in this case would be negative 2. If you look at our second one, we get 4 minus 6. That would be absolute value of negative 2. That one will switch to positive 2. So it matters whether the absolute value is inside or outside. You just got to be a little bit careful with that. This last one, or the next one, we got the 3 out front, doesn't change anything. 2 minus 7 would be negative 5. So that would be the same thing as 5 minus 3 times positive 5. So you can always change it from absolute values to regular brackets to help you solve the question. So that would give us 5 minus 15, which would be negative 10. And the last one, if we do the inside brackets first, we'd have minus 2 times minus 2 squared. Minus 2 squared is 4.
Please contact the office for a phone call. Ms. Housen, contact the office.
So we have minus 2 times positive 4. Negative 2 squared is 4, plus 6. So that would be negative 8 plus 6, which is negative 2, which would give us positive 2 for our final answer. So they're pretty simple. You just got to remember to switch them to a positive if they're inside the absolute value sign. Okay, we could do a question like this where we got to range them from highest to lowest. So just work each one out separately. So that would be 6.5. That one stays as 5. That one stays as 4.75. That one stays as 3.4. 12 divided by 5 works out to 2.4, and being absolute values, that'll make it positive. This one would be positive 1, 0.01 stays the same, and the last one would be positive 2.5. So once we have them all as regular decimals, now we can put them from lowest to highest. So our lowest one would be the negative. Our second lowest would be this decimal, then the other decimal. Then we get 2.4.
Ms. Housen, contact the office for a phone call.
Then 2.5. Then 4.75, then the 5, and then last the 6.5. So they're pretty easy to order them. Just do each one separately and then compare. And the last type of question you might be able to see is we have to figure out where the absolute values would go to make this true. So if you look at this, we got 9 minus 12. Those would give you negative 3. Here we got minus 2 times 4, which would be negative 8. So we want to make these add up to negative 5. So if we made this positive 3, that should work. So positive 3 minus 8 would be negative 5. So that means we would just need absolute value signs around the 9 and 12. And that's it for that one. Let's try the next one. Minus 1.3 minus 3.3 would give us negative 2. Negative 2 cubed would be negative 8. We want that to be positive 8. So again, let's just put absolute values around the whole thing. And the last one, we got 8 minus 11 times negative 3. So that would be 8 plus 33, which would give us too big of a number. If we get negative 33 on that, that would give us the negative 25. So we want this to stay as negative 33. So how about if we put the absolute values around just the brackets? We'd have negative 11 times positive 3. That would give it to be negative 33. So that should work. So a little bit of a different kind of question, but you just have to play with it and try to figure out what the best combination is to give you the right answer. And there may be more than one right answer that would work for this, but those ones definitely work. And that's it for the start of absolute values. We'll look at absolute value equations next.